For the past 5 years, the Greater Victoria Folk Festival Society has produced Folktoria, a celebration of the cultural diversity found in Victoria. Victoria's Centennial Square will host 39 cultural groups, associations, and individuals performing this year. This doesn't include the opening ceremonies with Jamie Orr and Philip Louie, and the several food trucks and vendors. Let's get into it. Really exciting time again. I know last year we had a ton of awesome things to talk about, a lot of excitement about Folktoria. So how about we just go around the circle? Let's start with you, Melvin. Just your name and your involvement within the festival, and I guess just also the group that you sort of represent or are a part of.
Yes, ever since the Greater Victoria Folk Festival Society was started, I've been the treasurer, and also I'm the leader of the Norway dance group that we are performing as well. So
I'm very excited about Folktoria. As we've said before, it is a missing piece in our cultural landscape, the opportunity for people to come together from all of our different cultures to sing and dance together. So that makes me very happy in my heart. And myself, I sing with my two children. We sing Canadian folk songs, and this year we're going to be singing a song from BC, a song from Manitoba that's Ukrainian, and a song from the Gaspé. So we're trying to be multicultural as much as we can be in our little singing group.
And Pam, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Pam Rudy. I've been with the festival and performing for 6 years. I guess 5 years. I've been on the so-called executive for all about the first year. I do secretary on that position. And I work with the Saanich International Folk Dancers, which does dances from many countries, mostly European, and there's the odd one that we'll do that comes from South America, like Bolivia, or just other places. Anyway, what I'm looking forward to this year is that in a program specifically, we're including some dances to bring some children on stage and have them dance with us. Before we could...
That's going to be incredibly exciting.
We enjoyed them last year. Melvin had commented about enjoying seeing kids in the front, kind of below the stage, and they'd be dancing and enjoying themselves. And so, this year, as part of our 8 or so dances, we'll have 2 of them that we'll bring kids on stage for.
Yeah, I've been talking with several different cultural groups. I had a conversation with the incoming vice president of a Portuguese association or a cultural group here in Winnipeg. And they're talking about how part of their mission and their goal is getting youth involved. Mm-hmm. He's not necessarily talking about just young kids. He's talking about people between like 18 to 30 sort of range, getting them involved within the community. People who are maybe starting families, to get them inspired and instill culture within these youths, and then they can instill that culture within their children so it continues. Because it's all too easy for, within even one generation, for cultural aspects to just disappear if you're not actively participating in preserving them.
Absolutely. That is so true, and it is the main driver for festivals like this as well, to make sure that people have some exposure to things that might excite them about culture.
Seeing other people get excited about their culture might instill an inspiration in someone to be like, hey, that's right, this part of my background I've never really pursued before. Maybe I should check it out. And then you have new blood that can rejoin these organizations, people learning together, and then it just helps them grow and to preserve that heritage and culture for generations to come.
We are all on the same page.
We're all converted to that.
We're culture junkies, babes.
Yeah, last year you had a new area that you got set up. I guess just let's go around and just tell me a little bit about how Folktoria went last year.
Well, it went well, but we had typical June rain, which caused some pretty serious problems with getting the audience we wanted, but also with things like the marley floor for the dancers getting wet is very dangerous for it, and slippery for the dancers too. It's not without its dangers for them. So we had some operational difficulties we had to work around last year, but we got some great performances. And yeah, I think we were kind of nestled into our spot a little bit. Even though we'd been off for 2 years, it felt very comfortable. People seemed to be happy to be back. That was comforting, because we were a little worried that people would be less enthusiastic because of the 2-year break.
I remember last year that even though there was rain on both days, I supported the ice cream truck because it wasn't their day for a lot of business. The performances are under stage cover, but you don't have the same feel. The audience factor makes such a difference.
Yeah.
And if they can't stand there and watch in the rain.
Except those who are very, very dedicated.
Yeah, the parents or relatives of the performers would hang in there, of course. So that was what marred it. But I think overall, there's just a real sense that people want that kind of feeling of that type of festival in the community. And I think that, building upon the years, the word will get out and people will look at it as kind of a destination for the beginning of June.
What about you, Melvin? How'd you feel?
We also had a concern that both the Centennial Square is surrounded by the City of Victoria and the Capital Regional District building. And they kept talking about development plans and making the square unavailable while they're redeveloping. So it was back and forth, and we couldn't pin them down to whether they would proceed with them renovations during our weekend or what happened later. So that was a big headache on our part until they decided that they weren't going forward last year. So
yeah, having to create kind of a site plan A and site plan B to deal with whichever location the stage would end up being.
So there was a few frustrations and a few hiccups last year, but when things were going, how did you feel about the performances and the different cultural groups that signed up last year?
Well, I liked the fact that we had a fashion show, so to speak. It wasn't like models on a runway, but there were different people that were from different cultural backgrounds, and they had someone who spoke about what they were wearing, and there was background music. So that was different from a dance type performance or singing. So I think that was a really nice added feature.
For sure. It's hard for me to pick out anything in particular because I am just in such a state of happiness through the whole thing. I am always in awe of the Mexican dancers with their beautiful butterfly moves, with their giant skirts, and they must weigh a ton, and they float around the stage like nobody's weighed down by tons of fabric. And our lovely Filipina dancers were just so delightful. And Daisy was back to do her special keeping a glass of water from spilling dance, and she's just so skillful. It's just amazing. But all of it is so much fun. So much fun. Melvin, any highlights?
Well, it's just the age range. I'm sure some of the Punjab kids were under 5, and some of the other dancers were over 80. So
yeah,
I think we covered all those bases.
Yeah,
for groups, and the live music groups were great too. The Polish White Eagle Polish band and a local band to play Balkan music. So it was nice to have them.
How was engagement afterwards? Did you get any messages of people who were heard about and maybe were, maybe a little turned off because of the rain or something like that? Maybe they're a little hesitant to attend, but we're excited about learning more about Folktoria, about the different cultural groups and organizations within the area. What sort of reception or responses did you get after the event?
Well, we tried to have a survey, and people are very reluctant to do that. I don't know why. So I would say because of the weather, we did have people who kind of came in. They'd already planned to be there, whether it was because they had a person performing or whether it was just that they said, I'm going to go after lunch, and they did. But there wasn't a lot of hanging around. So people tended to be quite brisk when they left. So no, we haven't seen a whole lot of feedback from our audience, except that they're so enthusiastic when they're there. Like there's no, even in the rain, the people were very full-hearted.
After a lot of the performances, people, usually Melvin would have made an announcement or about a group, and if you want to know more about this group, you can come and speak to this person. So I think people were following up. If they had an interest, that they came to the end of the performance and stood at the side of the stage and just kind of had a huddle of maybe commenting about the performance, but also learning if they were potentially interested. Then they would have had a kind of face-on opportunity to find out more about it.
So more to the individual performance groups than to the Folktoria organization. Mm-hmm. I agree with Pam. You would see huddles.
Well, that's good to see that at least there was that engagement, that after a performance, people are like, hey, this was really cool. I'd love to get to know you a little bit more about your culture, sort of thing. So that's good to see, or I guess for me, good to hear.
And there were several that came up and wanted to know how to perform in it next time.
Yeah.
So they happened to be there and catch the entertainment. So, it was nice to get their contact information as well.
Nothing in particular except a good cooperation with the next group up. They were always there on time and ready to perform. It made it easy for me as the master ceremonies to not worry about running around and finding where's this group, where are they? Who's there, and they coordinated with our music producer, so they were all ready, and he was very accommodating to the to whatever hardware they brought to make it work. So
speaking of music, that can be a disaster if somebody's music doesn't play, or there's some other technical issue.
Oh, I've seen events like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And we were very lucky. Everybody had took care, had the right kind of equipment, and got their music recorded in a way that could be used. And so there weren't really delays. Things went pretty spontaneously, kind of seamlessly, rather, between one thing to another. And one thing that we did have, not necessarily performing, but definitely entertaining, and that were youth rather, from the International Summer Village, and they were available to do crowd energizers. And so that was just so much fun to have. There were two on stage, and they would get people in the audience to do either certain actions or say certain things in echo, and that was a riot. So they were really good to fill if there was little breaks in time between performances.
I totally forgot, but this is absolutely the case. Like, serendipity is such a beautiful thing. So we had a couple of little gaps that just spontaneously appeared. And one fella, his name is Ray Jean, he just got up on stage and sang a bunch of lovely, powerful French Canadian songs. He's got a wonderful repertoire and lots of energy. So he really filled that gap with a verve. And then Sunday morning, we had another little gap. I really don't know how these things happened, if people were just a little faster than they thought or what. But
happy little accidents, right?
Happy accident, because the lovely people from the Hungry Bubba food truck came and sang. They're from an Indigenous father and daughter from the Cowichan Valley, and they got up and sang together some of the songs of their people, and that was just such a treat and absolutely unexpected and so welcome.
The big question this year, I mean, what's Folktoria going to look like? And I mean, of course, knock on wood, weather is beautiful and nice this time.
Just a little less in the downpour department. We'll take a little rain, but not so much.
A rain overnight, not during the day.
Yeah. Exactly. To cool down things if it gets a little warm, and then the next day everyone's ready to go.
Well, this is going to sound very boring, but we just want more of the same. Like that's the whole purpose of this, is to get these groups out, to get them together, and to build this community of cultural performance. So we want more of it every year, and hopefully down the road we'll be able to expand to maybe 3 days or something. So this year we're still at 2 days, but yeah, we want to repeat what's working in a way that will continue to engage and excite the multiple layers of cultural wealth we have in our city.
How many people do you have registered this year to participate?
Oh, I can't remember how big the spots are. We're full. There isn't an empty spot, but I'll have a look at a spreadsheet while other people talk.
Yeah, so Pam or Melvin, walk me through what the weekend is going to look like.
Friday afternoon, the tent people are coming to put a big canopy over top of the stage, and that'll stay up for the weekend. So at least the performers will stay dry and somewhat out of the sun. The sun moves around from high noon up to 7 p.m. So it couldn't place the canopy to cover all that area. But then we have our opening ceremonies at noon on Saturday. A few politicians will speak. I hope not at too much length, but. And first, of course, acknowledgement of that we're on First Nations historical land, and then just solid performances, just one after the other, so until 7 p.m. So. And
what does that Sunday look like then?
We do it all again from the same 12 to 8 p.m. So I think we stopped at 7. It's Sunday night in Victoria. They roll up the sidewalks and people go home. So
then there will be hopefully lots of volunteers to do the takedown part. Rolling up the marley floor and having to do that, with the edges exactly aligned. If it rains, we have to dry it off before we can roll it. So
that's the whole thing.
Yeah, getting volunteers is still what we're seeking to do. Try to encourage more people to be part of not just their performance part, but to lend a hand on setups or other things during the year that require, meeting and doing some planning, what works, what doesn't work, and trying to figure out ways to do it better every time.
And if someone's interested in volunteering, where do they go? How do they reach out?
Well, we just put up some job descriptions on Volunteer Victoria. And of course, we have a website, which if people know to look there, they could look. And we also will be putting out a kind of general call on our Facebook page.
So also at this event, I know last year we talked a little bit about how there's some food trucks around there as well that take place.
Yes.
Is there a particular one that you really enjoy going to and partaking in the food?
Well, I like all of it. It's hard to pick a favorite. We have a few repeats and some that are new, and looking forward to trying the new ones participating this year.
So what sort of cultures are all represented within these food trucks? Just a ballpark, maybe.
Looks like about 16 separate performing groups.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So in 2 half days.
Food trucks. In past years, we had the Filipino Cultural Society with lots of their food all heated in that. Italian Community Association was there last year. Hungry Bubba, that's named after the father of the owner of the business. So she named it after her father. So the Hungry Bubba. So
that's nice.
So I think this year we have an Indian food truck and a First Nations food truck and a Greek food truck and what was the other one? The Hungarians couldn't come this year. That was too bad. They can't get volunteers. This is where we need those younger people to start participating.
It's the struggle. Yeah, getting those younger volunteers involved, getting people excited. I mean, it can be hard to volunteer. Like, time off is precious. But I know for myself, I feel like I'm getting to the age where I feel that it's important to start giving back to the community, getting involved, getting yourself established, learning who's here. Because, COVID really took a number on our communities and our connections to each other. So I feel I feel like the next 5 years are going to be really instrumental in taking time to really focus on rebuilding community and connection.
All right. So we have Country Crepes, Don't Bannock, Katya's Kitchen, Greek and Go, and Cuckoo. Cuckoo's fine Indian cuisine. So, and that, it doesn't sound like that much, but we're right downtown, and
it's a nice little selection
limit to how much space we have in the precincts of the square.
And I mean, you mentioned you have plans to grow and develop, but you have to start off somewhere. You have to start with your foundations, build up that excitement, that interest, and then each year, more people get to learn about it. More people show up and be like, wow, that was really cool. I want to help out. You have more food truck people being like, hey, there's a lot of foot traffic down here. Absolutely. I want to get involved.
Well, and the more food trucks there are right down in the square, the more people are liable to accidentally end up at Folktoria too, because they or smell something yummy.
Yeah.
Another happy accident.
Yeah, hey, happy accidents are our best friends. I just want to point out that I used to be a 14-year-old who sang in Folk Fest back in 1973. So look what can happen to you if you start having these experiences when you're young.
Yeah, you build a whole life around celebrating community.
And making music together.
The event is taking place on June 3rd to 4th. And where can people go to find out more information? And I guess, first of all, is there a ticket at all? Is it a free event?
Yeah, it's an ungated event. So people just walk in and participate.
There you go. So there's no excuses to not show up.
That's right. And it's on all of the bus route. So it's right off Douglas Street. So there's a bus stop right smack dab in front of the square. So it's really convenient. And there's a huge parkade right next to the square as well. So it's really well placed for getting there.
Once again, where can people go to find out more information?
Our website, folktoria.ca, and we have a Facebook page, Folk at Home, FOLK at Home. And we're in all the local places. Like Tourism Victoria has a page for us, and Downtown Business Association. So if people look at those sites, like do 250. 250 is the area code for part of Victoria. So and Victoria Buzz. There's lots of people frequent those social sites. So they'll see our ads that we put up there for free, and next door as well. So
local TV will be advertising as well.
Yes.
Ooh, awesome.
Yeah.
We just saw our little commercial just the other day. It's very cute.
Now that's exciting.
Yes, it is.
Have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight? Leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was U Talk, and have yourself a good one.